Are mangoes the next superfood to help us lower blood sugar? Don't we wish? Well, this article popped up on my automated PubMed search last week, and it made me want to have a little rant online. But after I thought about it a little bit more, I thought maybe this is less of a rant and more of a let's look at the nuanced view of this instead. So I know, and you probably know that mangoes are a very high sugar fruit, and anyone who wears a continuous glucose monitor can tell you that mangoes will definitely spike your blood sugar. They're not a very blood sugar friendly fruit, and that makes us very sad. But here we have a study, one of three that I read this week, saying that consuming mango is associated with increased insulin sensitivity. And in this one, in people with obesity and inflammation. So I'm thinking this is a great idea, and I shared this with some colleagues, and we are wondering how can this be so? So I had a little closer look at this study and a few others like it. So first of all, always when I'm looking at one of these studies, I'm asking, how was it done? How did they control for it? And who was funding it? And I think it's important to say that this was funded by the Mango Board, which shouldn't turn you off completely. Just because research is funded by, say, the Mango Board or the pharmaceutical company, doesn't mean you can toss it out. A lab can be doing very good work and very, reputable, responsible work in reporting accurate results, even though they've got funding from somebody like the Mango Board or someone with a vested interest, and they always report it. Um, but let's just be so that's and most of these studies are funded by the Mango Board. But let's have a look. So first of all, the important part for me was the mango intervention. This was a single blind study, so researchers knew who had what, but the participants didn't know what they were getting because some got pureed frozen mango, 2 cups a day, and the control group got basically sorbet, an Italian ice with mango flavoring. So what they did is they matched them for calories. So each one of them got 100 calories worth. So it's basically 2 cups a day. But there were some differences, of course, and that's what they were counting on were some of these differences. Because the mangoes, rather than just sugar and flavorings, one, you can see there's 2.5 grams of fiber in here, which does something to the microbiome. And there's also polyphenols in there. And they were trying to control for polyphenols, making sure both groups kept a fairly low polyphenol intake throughout the study. But it was 4 weeks they did this low polyphenol diet in between, and they did a bunch of labs before they started and then at week 4. And what they were looking for is they thought that these polyphenols would impact inflammation and that maybe that inflammation would then improve insulin sensitivity, which is pretty logical. But they tested TNF alpha, IL-6, C-reactive protein for markers of inflammation, and they didn't change in this 4-week period. But some markers of insulin sensitivity did change. And this is what they saw. They saw that this is the mango group in this column. This is the sorbet control group. And this row here is where they tested the oral glucose tolerance test. So this is time points after drinking a glucose drink. The black line is week 0 and the gray line is week 4. And you can see with the mangoes, there was a reduction in glucose further out, at 90 and 120 minutes. So there's a significant improvement in the mango group from where they were before they started this study. You didn't see that in the sorbet control. And you also showed this is insulin. This is the insulin response. And this is showing the insulin drops down. And that indicates that there is less insulin resistance to be able to have your insulin levels drop down a little bit more. So, it's interesting what I glean from this is I'm wondering, well, what were these people eating before? What did the 1 cup of mango in the morning and 1 cup of mango in the evening, was that replacing something? Because if you're having that mango, did that replace some other sugar that they were having? I wasn't really clear about that. And also it's basically mangoes versus sorbet. So there's a limit to how much I'm willing to jump on the let's add mangoes to our diet to improve our blood sugar bandwagon. But it is important to see that even though you're eating a significant amount of sugar twice a day, you're getting this impact. So on the plus side of this, I'm seeing that maybe sugar isn't everything. The long-term impact of adding more vitamin C, more fiber, and more polyphenols to the diet, maybe than replacing a sugar that they might have otherwise been eating, um, that's having an impact on our blood sugar. So that's something to note. I know there's a lot of people will say, "Gosh, even when I can't eat fruit anymore because fruit takes my blood sugar right up." And it makes me think maybe we shouldn't worry quite so much about all fruit. Yes, mangoes are one of the more high sugar fruits, along with fresh figs. And certainly the dried fruit is in a different category because we know there's a difference between eating dried fruit and fresh fruit on some metabolic pathways. And so, having berries like blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, raspberries, that's a much lower sugar way of getting those polyphenols and fiber and vitamin C. And there's a lot in between mangoes. But so it does show us that, it's possible that you could be doing your metabolism a favor, still having some fruit, still taking your blood sugar up in the short term, and it might have some long term benefits. So that's something. However, what I do take issue with is note that they were careful and they said it's associated with increased insulin sensitivity, which it was. But they bring in the term inflammation into the title, even though it didn't have any impact on inflammation, but their subjects had inflammation. But of course, this language gets picked up by all the news outlets, and even an endocrinology website outlet brought it up, and people are making a lot more out of it. Could mangoes be your body's secret weapon against insulin resistance? Or, parades that eating this fruit daily can improve insulin resistance in just 4 weeks. Ooh. And, these aren't technically wrong, but if you are somebody who's doing their due diligence to improve your metabolic health, maybe you have type 2 diabetes or severe insulin resistance, and you're like, I need to do something for the next, 6 months to really get this in check. And this might convince you that, oh, maybe you should make an effort to add mango to your portfolio of things that you should be adding. And I would say that I don't think mango has benefits above and beyond any of your low sugar fruits or other high polyphenol foods. Um, even diabetes.co.uk brought it, but was a little more moderate. And there's some other studies that have done this too, because I was reading this and they said, yeah, 2 studies show this. I'm like, what's the other study? And the other study was one done in 2020. There's another one done in 2022, but this one was showing they had improved markers of adiponectin and things that improve satiety from eating the mangoes. And I thought, really? And the closer I looked, their control group was low-fat cookies. It was compared to low-fat cookies. So I'm saying all this not to in a bit of a rant, but just to help you be a little more careful when you consume the news and consume those headlines. I know you don't have time to go to PubMed and pull the primary research, look at their materials and methods, but just know that people are always looking for clickbait like this. I mean, I'm using this as clickbait to sort of push back against this. That just because the next and greatest fruit comes out with all these metrics, it's because they paid someone to do some research. And frankly, all of these fruits that have colors, have polyphenols, they will benefit your microbiome. They will have vitamin C. They will they will improve your antioxidant capacity. And all that improves your metabolic health. So I think as a takeaway, I would say if you're eating a lot of sugar, maybe the cookies or sorbet, replacing that with fresh fruit is a big step forward, and you could do that and know that you're doing something good, even though you still notice that it's, really taking your blood sugar up after you eat it. The next step would maybe be to reduce those amounts, to go lower sugar amounts, but you may not have to eliminate fruit, maybe not have huge amounts of fruit. I don't know if I'd have 2 cups of mangoes every single day. I think you could get the benefit without quite so much. And I'm sure if you looked at low sugar fruit compared to mango, we'd probably see some big adjustments. So I hope that was helpful. Thanks for listening to me rant. And if you like this content, please remember to hit subscribe and catch some of my other videos that teach you how to use your CGM to hack your blood sugar.